Welcome, everyone. Glad you decided to join us. We will typically wait for getting out of work and everything else. So we typically start about 5:05. So glad you're here. Just be patient and we will begin shortly. Happy to see a couple of my students here. Got that logged in. Appreciate that. It was a bad day. Tell myself it's because you were interested. But since it's a good day, just say you're doing it for the credit. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. It'll all work out. All right, go through just a couple protocols for everyone in case it's your first time here or you're just observing. We run our summer wellness series in a very restorative way, meaning we deliver the information in a way that hopefully makes sense to you and you feel comfortable engaging with it. There are questions and things that I ask of the group. Certainly you can respond via text or camera on, camera off, or you don't have to respond at all. It is up to you, however you want to engage. As I always try and share, it is more impactful, the more people engage. I do not present myself as the keeper in knowledge of all things right and just. They are things that I have learned in my profession and in my personal experiences. So with that in mind, we're going to start with a check-in. And if you want to respond, that's fine. Check in, let people hear your voice. You can do it via chat or however you choose. And if not, That's fine as well. I am perfectly okay with silence. So I will give it some time for people to consider. My check-in question is simply this. If I am a close friend of yours, I am coming from out of town, I am coming to your neighborhood. What is the restaurant we have to go to? Where are you taking me? Where are you taking me? I don't know where you live. We haven't seen each other in a while. We're excited. And you are taking me to where? That is our check-in question to get us started. Anybody got a favorite spot?
So what if I don't know the exact name of it, but I know that it's an Italian spot? Listen, these are my wife questions. I call these Susie questions because she knows exactly what the name is, but it is one of my favorites. It is fantastic. I know that it is in the city of Pleasant Hill, but I don't know the exact name.
All right. And you are here in the Bay Area. You don't know the exact name. What do you like there?
Ooh, they have a I like well the various pastas are yummy. But one of the things that I like, they have a chicken dish and the chicken literally uh I guess the best word is melts off the bone. Literally. It literally
Yeah,
comes right off. It's amazing. It's like this is great. And then the desserts, oh my gosh. The desserts are amazing because they have this lemon tart where it's not too lemony and it's not too sweet. It is just right. I'm like, yo, man, it's amazing.
wonderful, wonderful. Appreciate you sharing that. Anyone else? Anyone else? Where do we need to go? It's a spot. I got to go with you. You got to share it. It's your spot to go.
Okay, so oh boy, in the Bay Area, there's so many, but I'm gonna pick one. I have to actually look it up because I can't remember the name of it. It's the Nature Vegetarian Restaurant. It's an Asian restaurant that is amazing. Everything in there is vegetarian, and they call it chicken, pork, everything, and it's all vegetarian. So yeah, that's where I would take the person. And I already have a dessert spot, but you didn't ask that question, so we'll leave that alone.
Yeah, that's up to you. If your desserts, some people prioritize dessert over the meal. So it's your answer, however you want to do it. Everything vegetarian, so a little bait and switch action, getting people in, and then saying, no, 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 it's not meat, it's actually vegetarian. I got it. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Spot you like to go?
I need to know what you're in the mood for first, because that question stresses me out.
I'm in the mood for your favorite. So it's you. It's all you. I'm the out of towner. I'm just popping in. I've never been there. I don't know where it is. And you're like, hey, I gotta take you to my favorite spot. Where's that? One of
Uh, okay, I guess I'll pick. There's a Chinese spot in San Mateo because I grew up in San Mateo. It's called Hot Walk Bistro, and yeah, it's probably the best Chinese food I've had in the Bay. And I go from time to time, even though I live in Oakland now.
okay. Yeah, that's good food. If you're leaving Oakland and hitting up San Mateo for some food, that tells me all I need to know. That's good stuff. Anyone else? Anyone else?
So for me, there is the closest Indian restaurant next to my house. A great place. It's a Southern Indian food. Uh, it's called Dosalicious, and it's super comforting for me.
Ah, comfort food. Yes, it's hard to beat comfort food. And that's Southern Cal, right? You're down Southern
Yes,
Cal? Okay.
yes, Southern California.
All right. All right. So we got the back and forth between Northern Cal and Southern Cal. Those delicious. Hey, do they do the do they ever have a buffet?
Yes, sometimes during the week, but I usually go towards the weekends and like it's at night, so the menu is always the best.
Yes, yes. I'm always looking. That was one of the casualties of COVID. This is one of those things we don't have a lot of buffets anymore because of all the contagions and all the worries. A lot of the places I used to go to that have buffets, they no longer do it anymore. So anyone else? Favorite spot?
I would take you to my favorite Korean barbecue spot out here in Victorville. There isn't many options to really go to out here in the high desert, but I would definitely choose the Korean barbecue spot.
All right.
All right.
What are you getting there?
I get different cuts of steak. It comes with salads, it comes with rice. So it's like you cook your own meal. You cook your own steak to your liking. Yeah, it's really nice.
Wow, that's good.
That's good.
That is good stuff. All right. All right. So we got a little vegetarian, we got the steak, we got Italian, we got Korean, we got Indian, Chinese. Whew, might need to end this call early tonight. I haven't had dinner tonight. So this is good. This is good. Appreciate that. I would take someone, there's a little spot. I have several spots here. I'm also in the Bay. I do typically when people come in, just because it's a unique spot, a lot of my people are from out east when they come out here to visit. I take them to a place called Homeroom, and they do macaroni and cheese, and it comes in a container, just a foil or bowl container. It's just a one dish, and you order that as the main dish, and they mix macaroni and cheese with anything. It's baked. It's baked macaroni and cheese, so you can get it with broccoli and chicken. You can get it spicy. You can get it with salmon. It's all kinds of weird things you would never think about putting in macaroni and cheese, but they mix it together. They bake it, and it's pretty cool. All right, appreciate that. So we are discussing as our last week of July, where we have been dealing with conflict resolution. If you are going to continue in the series and want to go into August, we are shifting in August to situational leadership. So if you have any interest in how to become a better leader, or if you're already in a leader position, that will be our topic for August. And as I have said previously, this is a wellness series, and we are looking at wellness from a different angle. Wellness in our relationships and how we deal with others. So in June, we looked at parenting. Now we're looking at conflict for July. And then we're looking at situational leadership next month. And all it takes, if you're wondering if you're a leader or not, to be a leader, you only need one thing. That is someone following you. Don't get it twisted into a bunch of other stuff. Now, what makes a good leader a bad leader? Yeah, we can unpack that. But if you have anyone following you, kids, siblings, workers, there will be some nuggets in our series in August, so I invite you to join us for that. But for tonight, we are wrapping up conflict resolution with this idea entitled The Compass of Response. The Compass of Response. So we'll get into that. Go. So we did our check-in. We'll get into some learning outcomes, an introduction into the compass. We'll look at the 4 responses, and then we'll wrap it up and we will be done. So by the time we get done with this, you should be able to understand different ways people react to shame and recognize these responses in themselves, yourself, and others. Learn strategies to manage and de-escalate conflicts, develop skills to communicate more effectively, and cultivate empathy towards others. And those are important things for us to look at. So the compass, I call it response. It is actually done by Donald Nathanson in 1992, and it is called the compass of shame. And there are 4 typical responses individuals exhibit when experiencing shame. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. It's withdrawal, attack self, attack others, and avoidance. And it's very important to understand these 4 about yourself and about others so that you can navigate potential conflict that you find yourself in. It is a very good thing to understand just in the idea of human behavior. So why am I calling it the compass of response? Well, in my master's program, the International Institute of Restorative Practices, Dr. Frida Rundell has done a lot of work in the compass of shame. And the word shame is triggering for many people. It's not something, depending on your history, things that you've gone through, injustices, traumas, insecurities. Shame does not conjure up a behavior that would be open and welcoming to discussion. The other thing is, these are typical responses. These are human behavioral responses. And people sometimes get thrown off in the discussion of shame. And the final straw, which why I adapted what she calls it as the compass of response, is that I did a presentation for a group of people. And one of the things she was talking about, Dr. Rundell, I actually experienced during the presentation. A lady was not okay with the word shame. She was not okay. She let me know. She was like, I just don't like that, how I was raised. And there was a lot of stuff to it. And so that was kind of the last thing I needed for me to kind of make this shift. So I'm telling you that so that if you want to look up more about this, don't Google the compass of response. It is Donald Nathanson, and it is the compass of shame. And it's how we respond to things when something has happened that is shameful. That ties into the 9 affects that we have gone through in other sessions on things that are happening and how we have an affect to that. And so that is not going to be the topic of our discussion tonight. But if you look up the 9 affects, you will see all the different ways that we as humans respond when things are at a balance and then something happens. Someone slams the door. I've done a presentation before. My dog barks behind me. What happens when that disruption takes place, whether exciting, whether fearful? So we're not just talking about you slip and fall on the ice. We're talking about someone has said something, they've triggered something, a loud noise, whatever, and how we respond to that typically falls within one of these four ways. All right. So the compass of response, here are the 4 ways, right? So we have, and we'll unpack all of these. If it is hard for you to read and you're not familiar with Zoom, you have controls at the top of your Zoom that can enlarge it on your screen if you need to read it more. Usually click on more and find one of those suggestions, or even click on some other options up there, depending on if you're on your phone or not. I am not sure. But basically, we're going to go through them anyway. So you have withdraw, attack self, avoidance, and attack others. So sometimes things happen. Let's say you're going through a divorce. Let's say you didn't get in to the program in college you wanted to. Let's say you tripped up the stairs before you gave a presentation. Let's say you shared something with a team only to find out that it had already been resolved. I would like you to think of things or moments, a moment in your life where something that would be considered shameful happened to you, and start thinking about where you fall on this compass. In, in different contexts, we all fall in different places, but most of us have a default. And so withdrawal is isolating oneself, running and hiding, attacking others. Um, are you blaming the victim, lashing out verbally or physically, turning the tables? Something happens and somebody says, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe you said that." Well, what did you expect? You don't always say stuff appropriately. They did this to me, and that's turning the tables, trying to give an explanation. Avoidance. You really should consider how you ... What are you talking about? They didn't say they had a problem with it. What do you mean they got offended? Nobody came up and told me. That's avoidance, denial. And other ways of avoidance is, not dealing with the fact you were in a relationship. Now all your friends know that relationship is no longer going. You want to get away, right? Some people do drugs and alcohol to just numb the pain. Other people, want to get away. So they take a trip. You have midlife where you got people buying sports cars and bungee jumping and doing different stuff because maybe the status in their life is not where they like to be. And then you have attack self. I can't do anything right, no matter what I try and do. And it goes on from there. So before we get into the first one, my question for us to consider, and I'm not asking for someone to put themselves out there and be uncomfortable with sharing the shameful experience. We're not asking you to relive it, but I am interested in, number one, maybe you've seen this before, or number two, where do you think your default is as you look through those 4 areas of withdrawal, attack self, attack others, and avoidance? Does anyone want to share where they think their default is? And maybe after going through this, you might see that it's different. But what is your typical response when you find yourself in a shameful situation? Have you considered it?
So when you say shame, how close of shame do you mean to like embarrassment?
That's why I shifted it to response. It's up to you. Some people are embarrassed. Some people, attention, you were going along, something has happened, an event happened, and now the attention is focused on you. How do you typically respond when that attention is not welcomed? So I'll let you decide what descriptor, whether it's embarrassment or shame or whatever. How do you typically respond to that?
For me personally, when it comes to embarrassment specifically, I guess the best word is shell up. So I close up, close off, like I just try to hide away sort of actions sort of way.
Yeah, that's withdrawal, sounds like. Um, and maybe not to the extent of going over in a corner someplace, but typically I hear you saying, yeah, I give myself a little more space.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give myself a little more space. Yeah, appreciate you sharing that. Anyone else?
Yeah, I always attack myself.
Mm,
And
okay.
I think about it sometimes for days still. Like, why did I do that? Why did I say that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Appreciate you sharing that. Anyone else? You have a default. Maybe you think you're split between two. Maybe it depends on what happened.
Hi, I'm Lisette.
Hello.
So I have a combination, but I would say that I lean toward what Clifton was saying, kind of withdrawing. Only because it takes me a minute to process what has just happened. And so I think getting through those feelings is the immediate response to deal with. So yeah, so I would say kind of withdrawing at first just to kind of get myself reset to think through how to respond.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. I have shifted through different stages in my life. I do remember a time where I would say I probably attacked others when I was younger. It's just a way to distract what, you know, what might have happened. Um, and so, uh, I'll get the attention off me, or, you've done something to me, I'm gonna get you back, that type of thing. Then I morphed into where my default is now, which Vanessa, you and I are kindred spirits. I typically attack self. I'm looking at what I should have done better. Can't believe I did that. You know, whatever the case might be. Any other comments, thoughts? Right. So let's look at withdrawal. And this is the response that involves retreating from a situation, whether you actually physically leave the situation or maybe you just check out mentally, emotionally. And whether you isolate, give extra space, some other things, avoiding eye contact, maybe just you were engaged in the conversation with friends and you realized you overstepped. Maybe you got into some politics or some feelings on racial injustice or something. You said something, you read the room, and you're like, ooh, yeah, guess I'm in the wrong group. And so you just decide to stay silent. The thing that can happen from this is that in a conflict situation, it hinders open communication. When you are in conflict with someone and you don't resolve that conflict and you have regular working time with that person, or I'm saying working time because I'm in my professional mindset, but even the home, if you have conflict with your parents, with your siblings, with your spouse, if that's unresolved, like your response is whether somebody did it to you or you did something and uh you feel that it was inappropriate, you didn't mean to, and so you just want to try and move on or avoid it, that it's going to leave unresolved issues. And the more unresolved issues we have, the less and less open communication. When you have minimal communication, unproductive communication, it's typically a result directly related to it is not a space that people feel safe to openly communicate. All right, let's look at the next one. We have attack self for myself and Vanessa. We are the champions of this. And this is marked by a lot of criticism at yourself. If you know somebody that apologizes a lot, I'm sorry. My fault. I didn't mean to. And sometimes you might find it with people that struggle with self-esteem issues. The implications of this, words are important, right? And so regardless of our strengths and weaknesses, if you keep telling yourself that it's your fault, your mind's going to believe that. And so what happens is it might just be an honest mistake, but when you do that over and over again, when you find yourself in a position to correct or lead or give guidance, you have just conditioned yourself to not mess up. I don't want to mess up, so I don't want to assert myself. I don't want to rock the boat. who am I to engage? Usually when I engage, it doesn't work out. And so now you have individuals that are in a setting that have skill sets, whether it's communication or other skills, and they're not using that. And so the real issue doesn't get addressed. You're sitting there with competency that can help, and it's not happening because you have told yourself that when you get involved, things get messed up. And so now, to make it broad and very big, our society is now suffering because it doesn't get to tap in to your asset, your competency. All of us have value, and we are conditioned to look at what other people do. And if they do well, we place higher value on them. If they make mistakes, we place a lower value on them. And so when you're dealing with conflict resolution, it is important to practice that you give everyone the same value. People have value because they're alive. People have value because they're beings. Usefulness, okay, that can be debated. It's not very useful to have a certain set of skills when other skills are needed. But value, yeah, the fact that I don't have any skills for this particular problem doesn't diminish my value as a person. It can diminish my usefulness in this situation. Any thoughts, comments, responses to the first two? As we go through these, I would encourage you to consider yourself, but also consider the people around you that are close to you, people that you work with. What are the things that you're seeing? When you look at the description, where are these descriptors in your life? Because understanding other people, does your father attack himself more? Does your mother, does your coworker, does your child, does your sibling, does your partner, how do they interact? Do you see them? Where do you see them on the compass? Because once you recognize it, then it helps us to stop taking things so personal, and we can position ourselves for a better response. All right. The next one is attacking others. Attacking others. So this is, the eye for an eye person, the revenge people. They rarely take accountability for their actions. It's always something. Well, I had to. I mean, what'd you expect? He cut in my lane, or that we don't have a big enough budget, or sorry, I was just running late on time. I mean, what do they want from me? It's always society or the elections or the boss or something else. It's rarely them. And what this does as far as escalating conflict is that it really starts to tear down the relationships with others. I don't know if you have anyone like this in your life. I try and limit the people in my life that are like this, because they have a tendency to always, many times blame you, right? Especially if it's an intrapersonal discussion. You're the reason. You just don't understand me. You don't give me enough time to express myself. You always. And it's like, no, that's not, I'm not the issue here. There a lot of times in marriages, you do counseling and supporting and those types of things. And you have people that have been in multiple marriages, and they lay out all the things that were wrong with their multiple partners, right? Over time. I've been married 3 times, 4 times, whatever. And it's hard to get them to recognize there's only one constant between those 3 marriages. You've been married 3 times. Each of your spouses has been married once. They're not all the same. So at some point, you have to look to the common thread and what role am I playing in these relationships? The next one is, let's see, avoidance. So in avoidance, a lot of times people try and laugh this off. I don't know if you know anyone that it seems like they don't get embarrassed, because whenever they do something that is embarrassing or shameful, they're the first ones to call it out, and they act like they don't care and they just laugh as a response. That's avoidance. It's, oh my goodness, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah. I slid down 4 stairs, cracked my head open and everything, but I knew it was slippery. I do this all the time. I'm just a klutz, and they just go on and go on. That's avoidance. They're not okay. They're embarrassed. They're probably hurt, and they probably need to go to urgent care. But they're laughing to you like nothing happened. The problem with this is when you're trying to resolve conflict, when you avoid it, it just prolongs the resolution. So you're at work and it's your boss, and your boss, every interaction they have with you is toxic. Maybe you are a young professional and you are working in an environment where your supervisor or manager is a generation or 2 above you, and they're just saying things that are just now in 2024, they're just inappropriate. We just don't talk that way anymore. We don't interact that way anymore. But this person missed the last 15 years of evolution, and they're designed to just stay with their terms or whatever. And because they're your boss, you let it go. Like, what are you supposed to do? If you don't address that, it's just going to build, and something's going to break. You're either going to leave, you're going to do something inappropriate, you're going to, or they're going to double down and become now not just inappropriate, but now just flat out vulgar and rude and anything else. Any thoughts on or comments on the last 2 or any of the 4? Do you have someone in mind? Can you see a picture of people that are in your circle? Are you able to put together some of these responses?
The only thing that came to mind was the attacking others. When you're the one that's being attacked, like how to deal with that. Because as the receiver, you're dealing with the repercussions of that person and how they're dealing with their compass of shame, right? Or compass of response. And, it's easy to just, attack back or be defensive, but coming from a place that kind of, I don't want to say respect, but I guess acknowledges, maybe that's a better word, acknowledges where they're at, would be easier to deal with that, because that can be hurtful when someone is constantly doing that. And so I think that that's a way that I've learned how to acknowledge where that person is coming from first. Because in default, attacking the person back is what I come up with.
Yeah, no, that's good. Glad you brought that up. Yeah, when you are the recipient, you want to de-escalate. And obviously, if someone's attacking you and your response is to attack back, but you also don't want to get walked all over. And to be clear, I do not recommend, when you see someone distributing one of these responses, I don't think it's helpful for you to say, oh, so your default is to attack others. I understand, right? So it's not something that you label somebody else with overtly or explicitly. It's more implicit in recognizing patterns. And there's a concept from a book called the four agreements, excuse me, the four agreements. There's a fifth agreement as well. And one of the agreements is don't take anything personal. And it comes from, and that's what I think of if you're the recipient of someone that attacks others. Really, any of them. If someone's avoiding you, don't take it personal. If someone that you care about is beating themselves up, obviously that, attacking themselves, that would be hard to take personal. But certainly attacking others. The agreement suggests that any of us that does anything is an outpouring of everything that we've been through. So our personalities are made up of memorized emotions. All of us on this call have been through our own unique experiences from birth up until Wednesday the 31st at 5 p.m. to get on this call. And so each interaction you have with someone, you're interacting with someone else in that same space. So when they're attacking you, they might think that it's something you said or something you did. But everyone's not attacking you from what you said or did. It's just them. And the reason why they're doing it is because of who they are. So the agreement is to say, hey, don't take anything personal, nothing. Even the good things you get, don't take it personal. It is an expression of love, an expression of hate, an expression of fear, whatever it is. It has to do with individuals and what they've been through. And so removing yourself from prominence through a window of humility is one suggestion on how to achieve some of these things when you're the recipient. How do you support someone that is, anytime something goes wrong, even when you know it was your mistake and their response to you is, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you hurt me. Right? How do they're attacking themselves? How do you respond to that? And so all of these is when we put it in the context of resolving conflict, it is something to consider through a lens of humility and understanding that the value proposition of people is heightened when we pause and try not to take things personal. Any other thoughts or comments on the four responses, either for yourself or for others, where you've seen it displayed, maybe something you've grown out of, thoughts or reflections on that? All right. So here's why this is important. We've looked at the different ways, and whether it's professional or personal, understanding how people interact is just a great thing to invest time in. Becoming self-aware, increasing your emotional intelligence so that you can constantly evolve as a human being to help others and to be an asset to society, to be a better leader. This is just, it shouldn't be a toiling task. It should be, hopefully, a consideration for all of us, is to make the world a better place. And who determines better? Well, probably a group of people that are very emotionally intelligent, because people are messy and we're all people. So increasing our emotional intelligence positions us in a way to make decisions that are better for more people than just ourselves. And I believe that's the best way to approach it. When you look at these responses, it's very valuable in conflict management and resolution, because when you are able to identify these different things, it helps you pull yourself out of the situation It allows more patience for people to be where they're at. I mean, think about if you knew that it had nothing to do with you, somebody was avoiding simply because that's their natural default in response to things where they're embarrassed, and you didn't embarrass them. They're not isolating because of you, they're isolating because that's how they respond. Well, that positions you differently to support as opposed to making it worse by, trying to unpack some things in the wrong context. Any other thoughts, considerations? Well, I appreciate you joining us this evening, and hopefully you have found this information useful as you go in interacting with others, either professionally or personally. We're wrapping up July with this idea of being aware of how we respond to things that we're uncomfortable with, things that happen to us moment by moment. Many of the conflicts that I am called to resolve, to mediate, to navigate through between two people, the greatest steps we take towards resolution really has to do with the people understanding the conflicts they have with themselves. Oftentimes, it's more of an internal conflict with themselves than it is with the other person. The other person just happened to trigger the internal conflict. And so now we are approaching it in that regard. So hopefully keep that in mind with whatever conflicts you find yourself in. In all relationships, you will probably come across the conflicting interaction with someone else. The more we improve our communication skills and our emotional intelligence will help us to minimize those conflicts and resolve them once they arise. Other than that, we invite you to join us next Wednesday as we start into situational leadership and looking at these other ways, non-traditional ways of wellness, which is building stronger relationships with one another. Thank you so much. Each of you have a wonderful evening, and we hope to see you again. You guys take care.
Thank you.
Cliff.
Bye.